There we go. Sorry about that. Hey, everybody's mic's muted. That's not going to work. Hey, crypto heads, it's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. As always, we got another awesome episode for you tonight. Very special guest. We have CINDIE Harper on. How are you doing tonight, CINDIE?
I'm excellent. How about you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Denise?
I'm great. Hot, but good.
You said you were fighting without air conditioning down there. That sucks.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
What's up, Heisenberg?
Not much. What's going on?
We're here, about to have a good time.
Yep.
So normally I'm at the radio station and I forgot a bunch of cords as usual. I got all the way there and then started setting up and realized I forgot a bunch of stuff that I needed. So I ran back home and we're doing it from home tonight. So another wonderful Thursday night.
Yep. Oh, first off, I want to say happy birthday to my wife, Kate.
Yes.
Oh, happy birthday, Kate.
Boss Lady Kate's birthday. Should we all sing to her?
No.
Yeah.
She would appreciate it if I didn't. You can.
No. I'm not going to do a solo.
I would just lip sync it.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, we're all saying we love you and happy birthday, Boss Lady.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, CINDIE, let's get to know you a little bit better. How did this all start for you? We always ask everybody's origin story when they come on the show. How did you get into the paranormal? Did it start with the history piece for you, or was it something that's always been with you?
It's something that started when I was a child, and I would see this thing, what I would call like the white man, because it looked like a mist, like a see-through mist, and had real dark eyes, real creepy. And I would see him like lurking in the woods by my house and stuff, and I would always get freaked out. And I was always like the only one that would ever see him, so that freaked me out. And then one time, my brother, he's a little bit younger than me, he actually saw it too. So I was like, yes, finally somebody else can see this. Running, and why are you running? So it started in childhood with the interest, because I wanted to know what that was. You know?
See, sorry, checking comments real quick. Hey everybody, we got Holly, Vicky. Hello everybody, Peggy Goodell. That's very interesting. So, you said, did the history become you grew up with the paranormal. How did you get involved? How did you get interested in the history of these locations that you go to?
So the history kind of came along with just a love of like old architecture and buildings and old houses and just anything in general that looked old and like creepy or looked old and looming, kind of like the insane asylum and things like that. I was like, that place is magnificent, so I love architecture and all that. But then when I started reading like the stories behind the places, that's what really got me, because a lot of the places have really dark, creepy histories, or they have just sad histories. And I always wondered like what happened to these places that just became abandoned. I'm like, how do you just like, what did they just decide like one day they're just everybody's leaving? You know what I mean? That fascinated me. So then of course that spurred the whole history, and I'd go digging around trying to find out anything I could about. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are that like kind of like that too, but that's where it kind of spurred from there.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if we get into it as depth as you do, because you're an author. You've actually written books about some of the history of these locations and all your experiences. But I know for us, from like an investigator standpoint, it's very important. It's like one of our biggest tools that we use when we go investigating.
Absolutely.
How do you know how to ask the right questions,
right,
or who you're interacting with when you're asking these questions if you don't know who you're talking to, at least a little bit. Sometimes it's cool to get stuff before and then validate it when you do a little research after. But
I always fascinating, like when I go and I don't know something about a place, but like say the spirit box will say something or give me a name, and then I'm like, oh, let me write that down, so then I go look at it. I'm like, oh wow, that was actually somebody who would really have been here, and it's like, okay, that was cool, because how do you explain? You can't. So
Right.
So when you're when you're looking, like digging into the history, where do you start when you do your research?
So I got lucky because, when I was growing up, I always lived in a college town. So I live in,
Nice.
WVU is. So there's, we have the huge library that has like all these historical records, and I'm talking like microfilm, everything you want. Like, it's like, whoa, So I was there before the internet. So like then after the internet is much more convenient and easy. So then I just Google things, of course.
Right.
Faster.
Yeah. How do you find what you find on Google in relation to what you're able to dig up in a library?
So
is it pretty?
Usually, it is really weird because sometimes you can find things at the library that can't find online, and then online you're like, well, this doesn't really say a whole lot. But then you go to the library and there's like all these newspaper articles on microfilm, and I'm like, well, what is this? So it's almost like interest. It's almost like if somebody else has an interest, maybe they'll like read something and put it out there, and then you can kind of like pick and choose the things that you want and the things that that you're looking for. But I'm like old, so I'm like old school. Like I used to have to actually go and write it down on paper and chisel it into the rock.
Get the tamer chisel out. Sarah, age 5, died. I'm bringing up Sarah's room. Sorry.
White dress.
Well, it's really fun. I mean, we've done it. We used to work with the Barberton Historical Society here around the Akron area in Ohio, and we did. Mike and I did a little bit of research because there was a lot of like urban legends, I guess you could say, like when they give the ghost tours. And, again, as investigators, we wanted to like kind of dig into that a little bit deeper. So when we were given ghost tours, or we were, leading investigators who, paid to be there and wanted to have cool interaction, we wanted to make sure we had our facts straight. So we did a lot of digging in the Barberton historical like stacks. You go in there, they have all the historical books and the microfiche. And we were actually able to verify a lot of the stories that they were sharing. So it was cool for us.
Oh, that's
to be able
yeah.
It was cool to be able to share those names and call them out when we're trying to investigate, interact with them. So I can imagine for you that's like just amazing to be able to find that stuff out.
Oh, and that's kind of what got me into the Sweet Springs. The whole thing. I fell in love with that place back when I moved back from Hawaii. I lived there.
Hawaii? Oh.
I don't know what I was thinking. I must like my.
I was gonna say why.
I moved back to West Virginia, from Hawaii, and I was like, I was visiting a friend in Mercer County, which is like a close county to Monroe County, which is where Springs is. So we were like driving all these back roads, just looking around for old buildings, old farmhouses, old whatever. And, you could always find those old cool churches and stuff that, there's like old creepy cemeteries and driving around. And we go into Monroe County and we drive up. And I mean, it really like shocked you because you're just driving on this old country road and there's a farm. And all, like, whoa, what is that? It's a huge, massive building. And I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have got to go in there. I have got to find out how I can get in there. I have to go. I have to. And so we stopped by the Historical Society and, asked people, and that we found out that, the owner, it was in limbo at the time, which was 2004. So that tells you how long I've been like obsessing over this place. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot online about it at first. And even now, like even when the Destination Fear guys came, I mean, it was amazing to see them, get some of the experiences that I had. And I did not tell them. I did not tell the experiences on purpose. Yeah. And when they got it, I was like, oh, snap. This is crazy, So really nice to, have them want to come, even though there wasn't a whole lot out there. Yeah. I just opened it to public paranormal, some public paranormal things. Other than that, it had just been me and a few friends that, basically were in there, trying to what we could, see or find or, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went, from there, because so many people were like, how do we get in there? We want in there.
Yeah. Have you noticed a growing interest in getting in there to investigate since Destination Fear?
Oh yeah, it definitely helped a lot to get the word out about us.
Yeah.
And it was almost perfect timing, because they had found us, from a friend, and my friend had, told them, hey, give Cindy a call and, see what you can do to get in there. And we talked, and it was really funny because, it all kind of happened all at once. So like, as soon as I got the approval from the owner to start doing things, with the paranormal and allowing people to come in, then, we got the call, and, they were interested in coming. And so it just kind of all went really well. It just kind of everything. So that kind of helped the word get out, because all of the proceeds, we're all volunteers. I know you guys know, with you guys are all volunteers too. And so how it is, like, everything, goes back to the building, or, anything to help the. And so I think that's important. I know a lot of people are for profit sometimes, and that's fine too. That's on them, but for me, I really don't want to see this building like go to waste,
Yeah. That is pretty amazing. It's very important. I mean, people ask me why I get involved with these places and volunteer and not get paid for it. I'm like, because they're like living history books, and we're, if you don't take care of them, they're gonna wilt away, mold, and just fall apart, and then somebody's gonna just want to throw them out. And it's just, we got to save this.
It's going to become a high-rise apartment complex.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or a parking lot or something stupid. Another strip mall with only one store. That's all they need is another super Walmart.
Right.
Yeah. Another Dollar Tree or something.
Right. Oh God. That's
Family
all
Dollar.
Yeah. Dollar General out here. It's like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But
in the corner, there's a Dollar Tree.
Yeah. But it's interesting to me that you got involved with. Are you involved with any other places? Like, what are the books that you've written? I know you're an author.
Okay, so I have in the works. I have a paranormal one for Sweet Springs. So collected stories from nurses, doctors, any kind of history that I could find on people who vacation there and stuff. Because I'm sure you kind of looked over the history of the place.
Yeah.
Things. So I just kind of like collected all these stories. And a lot of the people don't even get on the internet because they're older. And I'm talking, the oldest person I've talked to is like 96.
Oh, wow.
She remembered everything. And I was amazed. She remembered everything. And she said, I will never step foot in that place again. So, when you get, ooh, why not? Like, what kind of story do you have, and she wasn't really into the whole like, paranormal and, whatever, but she said, I'll tell you what, that place is definitely haunted. So, it's neat to have those stories and collect them. But I feel like, if I leave it and don't publish it, then it's going to get lost, it'll be totally
right.
Because, she'll never put her story on the internet. She doesn't get on the internet,
Right.
Sure.
So I kind of have that need to, help things along. The other thing that spurred my books are the cemetery that's attached to Sweet Springs. So, there's a cemetery that has all unmarked graves. That we're told there's a marked grave, but none of us can find it. So the rest of them are unmarked. And I found through all the death records and history records and went through everything. It took me like 9 months or so. And I was able to come up with 422 names that are buried in that cemetery that no one even knew about.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
I mean, public wise.
Yeah.
I've been, getting a lot of people from family members, like of the people that are buried there, saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you put that out there because, we couldn't find their grave. We didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
And so my next thing is to try to get that cemetery marked. I mean, we have it like fenced off, like a country barbed wire fence and a gate, so that at least it's somewhat fenced off from the cows and things and some of the pastures. But that's really, I don't know about you guys, but like I feel so bad when somebody's not remembered in death, like because they're and most of the people that are buried there were people that couldn't afford, or their families couldn't afford to do a funeral. So a lot of them were buried in cardboard boxes.
Oh, wow.
I've spoke to some ministers that actually used to come to when it was a nursing home. They would come to the nursing home and do the rites, graveside rites. And I had a minister tell me he doesn't know he can't even count on both of his hands how many services he performed. Like in one day, there would be like 3 bodies buried in one spot because, the state didn't have the money to pay for a coffin and, all these, fancy things that you would think of, they would call fancy for a funeral. But it's sad, it's really sad to know that people are, had to be buried in cardboard boxes and buried together and things like that. I did that book for the cemetery as like a remembrance kind of thing, so that they would be remembered. And then the other book's the same thing, except it's from Monongalia County, which is where I live, and it's our cemetery, and it's also known to be haunted. So it's also unmarked. So it's very interesting. I find cemeteries really interesting.
Yeah,
they are.
We have an unmarked cemetery.
But that kind of I did it to kind of remember people and try to give them just some where people have, hey, that person was actually alive and they were here and they deserve to be remembered.
Right.
So let's get into that.
What were you going to say, Mike?
So there's an unmarked cemetery just like in the park a block from me. They play soccer on it. But if you Google Earth it, you'll see the depressions where they're buried.
Wow.
That's sad. That's just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the 90s.
Or Denise. I can't hear either one of them.
Oh. That's weird.
You can't hear me at all? Well, of course she's not answering, so.
Okay, that's weird. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. Their mics are muted. Are you guys muted on your side?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, I could hear them perfectly. That's weird.
I can hear you. But
okay. You don't need to hear them. No, I'm kidding.
That's fine.
That's about right.
No, Mike was talking that he lives in an area like right behind him where there's an unmarked cemetery. Like there's no stones whatsoever, Mike?
It's a park. No, it's a park.
Oh, it's a park.
Yeah, so there's like a sanitarium around here or something.
Yeah, so there's graves, but there's no markers, and it's a park, and kids play soccer on the field. That's crazy.
And if you look on Google Earth, you can see the depressions.
That's horrible. All right, give me a second. I'm going to try to see what I can do with this.
Okay.
As far as the mics. Sorry, everybody. Everybody can hear all of us. Just turning it. All right.
There we go. I can hear more people.
Okay. Didn't you say hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yay!
Mike, you say hello.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye. There we go. All I did was click them off and on. Like I flipped the switch. I don't know. That's weird. Well, it works.
Why is everybody so quiet?
I just run the show. They just stare.
Right. We're just here.
Yeah. We just look at Ray with such admiration that we just watch him.
Right. We're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk. It's fine.
Yeah, no. That's funny.
Julie said she feels like this is Brady Bunch with you guys moving on the screen. Yeah, we do that all the time. Like, hi, Denise.
Right.
Hi, Denise. Oh, hi, Heisenberg.
You gotta remember it's opposite. Yeah, it's like
right.
Yeah. One of these days we're gonna have like a broom and I'm gonna like slowly hand it to him.
We have the same. It just looks like we're passing it around. It'd be great.
Right.
Oh, it's too TikTok for me.
I'm too old for that. I don't even understand it.
I have never been on TikTok. I don't know what it's about either, man.
I don't know. I downloaded it just to see what my kids were into, and I made them immediately get rid of it. I'm like, nope.
Yeah. My daughter's in college, and she was like, I said, "What's TikTok?" She goes, "You don't need to know."
Yeah.
I said, and why is that? And she's like, because you will waste way too much time on it. She sits there and watches like the really funny ones, and she will crack. I'm like, why are you doing? You are not being productive. She's like, Mom, this is productive. And I'm like, yeah.
No. I mean, some of them are funny, but there are some that just aren't right.
No, I agree. I'm like, I can't get behind that. I just can't.
No. Kathy Santori.
I'm glad I've never been on it then.
Yeah.
Kathy Santori is hanging out at Madison right now. You lucky.
Gotta be hot there.
Lady.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No kidding.
So now that everybody can hear everybody, let's get back into Sweet Spring Sanitarium. Can you give us a history of the building? Because I got to be honest with you, I'm like one of the thousands of people that didn't know the place existed until I saw it on Destination Fear. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I believe that because there, like I said, when I was looking for research and different things, even when I was doing that for years, you could really not find a lot, So it doesn't surprise me because it's out in the middle of nowhere, and is, a very rural county. So, I mean, it's just to everybody there, it's like, oh yeah, that's just, Sweet Springs. But anybody else driving through, they're like, what is that? So basically, I'll kind of give you a rundown real quick, just so when it all started up. So back in like 1780-ish, there were, American Revolution soldiers and officers who got land grants, and happened to be like, Colonel Lewis, General Lewis, they were brothers, and several of them got land grants for the property where Sweet Springs is now. Before that, somebody had settled, but you know how all of that, after the American Revolution, everything kind of changed a little bit. So when they got the land grant for that area and that property, they built a place where people could stop and stay. So kind of, just like a resort. But when I'm talking about resort, we're talking like log cabin, because we're like 17. So people think of resort like, oh, it's the big fancy building that's standing right now. I'm like, oh, no, no, we're talking about log cabin. So would see back then, because that at that time that was, it was a big building.
Yeah.
But what happened was, over time it got so popular because of the springs. The mineral springs have like healing properties and things, and of course back then they really believed in that because they didn't have a lot of medications and whatnot. So they looked to like natural resources and things that would help them feel better. And so the springs became really popular because the mountain air is really like nice, and it stays a nice temperature all year round, and it's just really a comfortable place. So if you were in the city and you were like a day like today, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go to the mountains, because and you can see pastures and golf courses and whatever. So beginning 1791 is when we have like records of the first guests. So that's how long this place has been having.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And so that building that originally was standing, had to be tore down because of course it got really old, and they needed more places for people to stay because it became so popular. So what happened was they built the buildings that are now standing. So that was around like 1830.
Wow.
Building the other big buildings, and there's like 5 what they call cottages, but for us that would be what we would call like a 3-story house, like 3-story house. So several of those built on the property as well. And then you have the big massive building that you see, like that's the one everybody does paranormal and kind of things. And so that building, we are estimating from what we've read and what we found, it was built between like 1831 and 1839. It was somewhere, all those dates are like in that time frame. Yeah. So the actual main part of the building is that old. So that's pretty.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that's why, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like this place is huge, So in the one side of the building, it is 1830s. Like it was built 1830s. There were slave quarters in the bottom, everything. This was like a, fancy resort. And then as time went on, after the Civil War, and then, kind of gradually things would, more things were opening up around the country, and, people could travel more, and there were more railways and all of that. It became kind of difficult for people to get there, compared, they used to, because they would originally come with stagecoaches, which is, I don't know, I don't know if any, hay rides or anything. I cannot imagine riding a stagecoach for like 2 days straight.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No.
You must really want to go to
dysentery.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's on the way to Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon Trail. Oh, you died of dysentery.
Yeah. I think about it and I'm like, I can't even imagine like the trip that would, take. So, when you think about it like that, it's like, wow, they must have really liked this place, or they would not, came all the way here on a stage.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of how I judged like how great it was, because it was so popular. And I have anywhere from 500 to 700 guests at a time. And so that's just, to me, that's amazing back.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Especially for, such a rural area.
Right.
Yeah, coming by stagecoach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
No.
So like it operated as a resort until about 1939-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Then it kind of just wasn't as popular, because it was way out and more people were interested in, seeing the cities and things like that, and the beaches and all that. You didn't have to ride a stagecoach. So I'm sure, the railway was, a more conducive thing. And then we had cars. So,
Right.
everywhere. So after that, it became a nursing home, because the state bought it and turned it into a nursing home, but it was a tuberculosis sanitarium first.
Gotcha.
So turned it into that, and for a few years, and then how we found some treatments and things for tuberculosis, so not as many people were needing to be quarantined and dying of tuberculosis, so therefore there wasn't as many people who needed sanitariums for tuberculosis. Right. So we know that when that kind of came about, then the state was like, well, we're not, this needs to be utilized more, so we need to do something else. And that's when they decided, well, we're going to make this into a nursing facility. So it mostly housed people who could not afford care or didn't have someone to care for them in their homes. So a lot of the people who lived there were not as wealthy, as somebody who, could have family care or pay for, private care, things like that. So a lot of people lived there, a lot of people, and a lot of people died there. I have over roughly 4,000 deaths that occurred, during the nursing home period.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's very, the whole place is just really interesting. Like, how the history kind of changes, because people get confused. They're like, was it a nursing home or was it a resort or what?
Right.
Right. Well, normally, I mean, you hear sanitarium and the title, it's usually not considered a resort, really.
Right.
You think of it as like kind of like the end game location for, That's really interesting. I had no idea. I mean, that's really interesting. It was a resort first, but I know that people bought a lot of stock into the mineral water, and there is a lot to it. I mean, there's proof that is actually a good therapeutic it's got great qualities as water in it. I have no idea where I'm going with this.
Well, FDR used to use it.
Let's have another drink, shall we?
Springs and stuff like that, because it helps with his polio.
Yeah, there you go. That's why I have him around, so he can make me look smart after I fumble out my words. Oh God,
that is true. It's true, and a lot of people like kind of they were a little bit confused, because they're like, "Did you say a resort?" And then like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I wouldn't mind going to a sanitarium that was a resort before that. I mean, it seems.
Oh yeah. Right.
Depends on what year you went is the question. That's the.
Yeah, it's kind of like, but it was a very interesting history. And then the grounds itself, the big building is just like the main, everybody just is in awe of it. Mm-hmm. But there's so much history on the grounds, because we had the bathhouses, and the men and women were separated because, it wasn't okay to, see someone in their swimming trunks and, whatever
Right.
things. And it's interesting because, it's like you look and you're like, okay, there's a tower for the women to change and there's a tower for the men. And they would put a separate in between a pool so they couldn't see each other, which,
my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of thing, I'm like, what? But there are different traditions and, what people believed. And it was really, but the mineral spring, the water is still there. The water is still clear, clean, nice water. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah.
I love the mountains. I don't like driving through them, but I love being there. We've been to West Virginia. We were actually traveling to Trans-Allegheny, and somehow we got sidetracked. And we're zooming around these mountain roads. I have no idea where the hell we were going. Somebody else on our team was driving. I swear to God, Mike was ready to call Kate and say, "I'm sorry, honey, I love you.
I'm not gonna make it."
I'm never. It's like the Blair Witch Project. We're all just like taking pictures of ourselves. Like, this is it. This is the end. Because every time we turned a corner, it would turn like sharp corners. There was construction right on the corner, so you have to go left of center to go around the construction. You have no idea what's coming at you.
And Julie's just driving like this.
Oh yeah, she's just like blaring NSYNC or whatever the hell she listens to. And it was ridiculous.
I'm sure I was in sync because I was like, "Am I going to die to this?"
But just if I could just like transport into the mountains, that'd be wonderful.
I mean, I grew up in West Virginia, and I still feel that way about some of the roads. I'm like, oh my gosh. I told my daughter, I was like, you be careful when you're driving on some of these roads.
Yeah.
It's just
I wouldn't be alive.
There's a like, where did that come from?
I remember my mom grew up in Pennsylvania, like in Bentleyville area, right around Washington County. And I mean, it's pretty hilly, mountainous out there. Not quite as to the extent as West Virginia or Virginia, but I remember her, like, we'd be flying around between cousins in the middle of the night, and I have no idea where the hell we are. I look over, every time I look over to the side, we're like up on a mountainside looking straight down, and I'm like freaking out, and I'm like, I don't know how she learned how to drive in those roads.
Right? And in the winter too.
Yeah.
I would never leave my house.
You learn how to survive.
Yeah.
And you know damn well they don't plow those roads.
No, they can't.
No. So it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, it's one of the reasons I haven't gone back to trans for a while is besides being busy, I'm just afraid to get stuck on the mountain.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I mean, because I'm not gonna lie. Like Trans-Allegheny, that's one of my favorite places to go to.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
It's only 40 minutes away from me.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky when it comes to that. But like the town is so small that you no matter who you are, if you are not supposed to be there, they are staring at you like, who are you?
Yeah.
And there's me with my stuff on, and they're probably like, what are you doing?
Right.
The street before we had navigation, because it was back in my primitive days.
I actually think it was the navigation that got us screwed up in the first place.
Probably.
Yeah, I want to say it was.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I was like driving around, and I'm like, how can I not see this big, huge place? Like, what? I'm not in the right town or something.
Yeah. I'm like, I looked at the map. It's all highway.
Yeah.
Until you get into the town. How are we on this mountain?
Yeah. I was just like, I'm in the wrong place for sure. And then and I asked one of the guys at the gas station, he's like, he sees because I had like a little ghost on my shirt or whatever. And he's like, are you looking for Tala? And I'm like,
yes.
Like, you're almost there. Just keep going. When you get to that big old tree, you turn left. And I'm like, okay, I got that. He said, you won't miss it. And I'm like, but for some reason I'm missing it.
Right.
Well, it's nice that your town knows where their big historical buildings are.
Yeah.
Unlike Madison, when we first started going there, before Denise used to go in there, and before Adam owned the building, I was literally at the gas station right across the street. Like I knew where it was. I wasn't asking for directions. But he saw that I had the Dark Alley Paranormal T-shirt on. He's like, "Oh, you're into ghost hunting, huh? Where are you going?" I'm like, "Really? Is that a question?" I'm like, "I'm going to Madison Seminary." He's like, "Oh yeah, where's that?"
Oh my
I'm like, "Seriously, dude? Walk out to the end of the parking lot and look right. It's like that building right across the street." He's like, "Oh, the old jail." Like everybody had their own name for it,
right.
but nobody knew it as Madison Seminary. I'm like, I never heard it called the old jail.
No.
I mean, I knew it was like used for that for a little bit, but it's amazing to me that some people just don't know their history or they're like these big locations.
Right.
Oh, I know. And they just look at you like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you're thinking like, long town. Yeah.
Right.
Because
it's the biggest building in town. Like, how do you not at least look into it?
Yeah. Drive up and down the street every day to get to work. You should probably know what that place is.
Yeah.
You would think. And I mean, they always teach everyone that, like, especially when you're into like the tourism and stuff, they try to tell you, like, you need to know like the other places, because people usually, if they stop at one place, they want to stop other places.
Right.
And know about it, So when we have people that come to Sweet Springs, we always try to tell them like to stop at some of the areas around, because it's cool. I mean, you can buffaloes down here, like you can go to Sweet Springs and see buffaloes like literally 6 miles away. You can stop at a swinging bridge restaurant.
That's worth the drive right there. I want to see some buffalo.
Right.
Yeah. It's really cool. It has nothing to do with ghosts, but it's cool. So, we try to do that because, that way people can at least get in some extra attractions and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Madison has a Walmart.
Listen, we have a lot of cool stuff here.
Yeah. We're going
to go to Walmart to get some paint. And I was like, where? He's like, you just turn right here. And we pulled up there. I was like, holy shit, there's a Taco Bell here even.
We have a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, before Adam and spending so much time up there,
we just went right to the building.
Yeah. We went to the convenience store to get supplies and cigarettes and whatever, and then we went right to Madison.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know. I mean, this is a paranormal show. We get off track all the time and have a good time, but what kind of paranormal activity happens at Sweet Springs? Like, what have you witnessed? What have people reported?
Okay, so for me personally, I have seen shadow figures, and we've caught several on camera. I've seen full-bodied apparitions, 2 of them. We get a lot of EVPs. We will hear like loud bangs, door slams, and I'm talking like there is no windows open. There's no, we would go and literally like, it's so bad that you literally think there's a human that has broken and, came in. And, and it's, I'm not going to lie. It's a little unnerving sometimes, because I'm there myself a lot.
Right.
Because I love to explore, and I'm like, well, I can't have any contamination because it's just me. I know whether or not I'm singing or, whatever.
Right.
I'll just walk through with cameras and, recorders and stuff and just see what I get. And I mean, I don't think people actually believed me until they actually started going and sitting there, and then they come running. They're like, oh my God, did you come in the building? And I'm sitting out there like, no, I'm in this building. I'm not in the other building. And like, I swear, somebody slammed the door, and I'm like, I believe you.
Yeah, like I told you. You mean weird? I
know. I'm like, wow. But I mean, it's amazing, like some of the stuff that you can get. But I think the most compelling thing that I cannot figure out is I was taking pictures during one of our EVP sessions, and like it was in like a bathroom where this tub was, and everybody was getting creeped out vibes, and some of the people were like, I'm not going in that room, no way. And of course there I go, I'm in there, and I had one of my friends with me, and we were just standing there, and I'm just taking pictures as we like just kind of looking around the room trying to see if I can place everything and whatever. So I'm just snapping some pictures, and then he starts recording, and I never thought anything of it because I'm sure you guys probably you just snap a bunch of pictures. Whether like a chair or a wall or, whatever. You're just snapping some pictures because it looks cool.
Right.
And most of the time you're not standing there staring at it while, like you're literally like, I'm moving on because I'm busy. I gotta get
Yeah.
that. So
There's another chair.
Yeah. I didn't get that one. Let me go. So, I get these chairs. I'm telling you. So, I was just doing that sort of thing. And I hadn't really put a lot of time into that floor. And so I was like, you know what? I really need to like spend some time here and take some pictures and see what I can get with EVPs, if there's anything going on, whatever. And I did not know it at the time, but when I went back and was looking through the pictures, I got the creepiest hand that I have ever in my life.
Ew.
And I have sent this thing to everyone because I'm like, please explain to me what this is and how it is in my picture. Because, it's definitely not my hand. And it's a dark shadow and you can see through it somewhat.
Weird.
Really long claws. I mean, I'm not a chicken, but if I would have seen that,
right,
I would have been like, I need to take a break.
I'm out.
Figure this out. There's something else. So we've been trying to like remake it or just any way we can think of, like same people, same time, same place. And we cannot, and no one can debunk it. I have no idea what it is, but it's the creepiest hand I've ever seen in my life. And it was literally like right in front of my camera.
Ew.
Almost like it was it was showing. And then on the EVP recording, I was like, is there anybody here? We were just talking. I said, is there anybody here that wants to talk to us? And it was like, get out. Like really loud, like creepy, like,
oh, wow.
And I'm like, ooh, I even get cold chills thinking about it. And then we didn't hear that obviously until we went back and played it. And so after we went back and played it, I was like, oh, that was creepy. So then I was like, well, who just said that? Who said that? And it was like, me, like really loud. And I'm like, and we're like, oh my God. And I thought anything of that until after we went back and I was like, holy crap. I wonder if that is whose hand.
Right.
Like I don't, because it was the same place, same time, everything. So of course we had to go back there like 50,000 times. And so we're all trying to, see if we can figure out, what we're doing, if we can get any responses and, all this stuff. And I mean, so far 2 teams have gotten similar things, no hands or anything in their pictures, but they've gotten get out, me, like it just says me, I thinks we should know who it is. I don't know who it is. I don't know. So, I go, I'm like, can you give me your name so I can at least know who I'm talking to?
Right.
But so far we have not got a name. I have no idea who it is, but it's like the deepest, creepiest voice I've ever heard.
Wow.
And I just thought, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't actually see that while I was, while I was standing there.
Right.
Got enough to get out.
I wonder if people ever get like a positive of like come back.
Yeah.
Instead of get out.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be like,
come back. And then you get that, you're like, I don't want to talk to him.
No, not you, the other guy.
I know, seriously, that's how I feel. I'm like, no, not you. I don't want to talk to the nice one. I want to find out who that mean one was. I know what I'm supposed to tell you, but because I had told one. I was like, if you go in there, just ask questions, see if you can get anything. And it was funny because they came back and like the next day they called me and they're like, you're going to want to hear this. And I'm like, oh, well, oh no, what is it? And you never know what it's going to be. And this is good. And I'm like, okay. So, they turn their recorder on and they're like holding it up and I'm like, I'm listening. And it says, hi, Cindy, like that.
Wow.
I said, you guys are totally faking that. That is fake. And they were like, no. They were like, we were dying of laughter. We almost called you in the middle of the night just to wake you up. Your friend, knows your name. Yeah. Great.
That's funny.
His name.
Right.
So, like that, we have plenty of like, the banging doors, where there's no windows or anything open. There's no airflow that would be causing the doors, and then there's a lot of, because of the nursing home time period, there's a lot of bathroom stalls,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know how a bathroom stall door sounds? It doesn't sound like a regular door. It's
Yeah.
got that different sound. And you can sit there and you'll say like, is anybody here with us? And, who's here? Does anybody want to talk to us? Anybody make a noise? Can you shut the door? Can you, knock on the wall, whatever. And, what we will we'll sit there and we'll be like, okay, we're not, we're probably not going to get anything. And because, sometimes a lot of times you're just sitting there literally with nothing. So,
Right.
so we don't always expect something to happen all the time, but, we're sitting there and then we would hear like one of the stall doors slam. So then everybody's like, which one was that? Like we were all talking about bathroom, was it, on the thing. So we're like, everybody's running to a different bathroom just so we person, because that's how bad it is. You really do feel like an actual human that is there closing a door, or, somebody came in and you didn't know it, or, whatever, but we lock ourselves in there. And so that way, somebody can't come in on us when we're in there. And so those kind of things are really hard to explain. I mean, I have no idea. The other creepy thing that has happened multiple times is we get child's laughter, which is really creepy.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'd rather hear the creepy screaming man than like the.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I think on Destination Fear, I think you guys saw that where they caught the chanting, and that is very, very creepy. It's just very creepy. It's not the kind of chanting that's like a normal meditation chanting. I mean, it's like a very creepy. I don't know what. I don't know what kind of chant, because we've been asking a lot. We keep trying to ask like who's chanting. What does that mean? And we haven't got any answers yet, but several people have definitely caught the chanting from our location, which is creepy.
Yeah. Got a couple questions coming in. Let's go back to Lacey real quick.
Okay.
She wanted to know, do you get some of the same spirits over and over again, or is it so much history in the building that it's all like different activity, different people?
So there are a couple names that come through. It seems like a lot of people have got a few of the same names, but a lot of times it is different names. It is different. We have about 5 names that I have noticed have been like a theme.
Really?
Yeah, and so that is interesting because we got a full name at the location, and we actually found out that he was a Civil War soldier, which was really, cool. I mean, that was cool because we can actually pinpoint, because on the spirit box, he came through and he said his name was James Parker. And then, we were like, well, what were you doing here? Were you here for the resort? Or, because, we don't know. And were you here for the resort? And we didn't get an answer. And then we asked her, were you here in the nursing home? We didn't get an answer. We're like, were you just visiting by, coming through? What? And we didn't get any answers. And then like a few minutes later, when we weren't asking anything, we were just kind of sitting there just to listen, we got Civil War. And so we actually had to go back and look it up because, I didn't know what he was meaning by that. And we looked it up, and there was actually a James Parker that was in the Civil War, and Union soldiers had actually camped out right beside Sweet Springs. And they actually like totally damaged one of the houses because they supported the Confederacy. And our place, for some reason, was not bothered at all. Like, they didn't do anything to our place. So we think that it's because at the time, 3 of the proprietors, one was a Confederate supporter and the other Union supporter. So as you know, the Civil War was divided, even brothers were divided.
Right.
So I think it was because predominantly, at the time, the establishment was Union, and so it's definitely stuff like that. But every once in a while we get lucky, and get like a full name, and it's like, wow, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we get that sometimes.
Yeah. Amanda wanted to know, what is the most active spot in the sanitarium?
Amanda will be there next weekend.
Yeah,
so
she
wants to know.
now.
I can't Amanda to be there. She's gonna love it. For women, when women go, if you're by yourself or with other women, for some reason the slave quarter area is like the area that is just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just crazy. It's it's just weird how, you know, you can get like reactions. And for some reason, like if men go there, they get a different experience. And if you put women and men together there, sometimes nothing happens. So it's really, really weird. But the slave quarter area for me is one of the most active and the most creepiest, as far as like actual things happening. So like you'll be sitting there and the door will like just creak shut and you're like, like, is there a rat in here or
a rat that closed the door?
I'm like, you know, we like, you know, exterminate.
Maybe the rat was drinking that mineral water.
Yeah.
But, mineral water.
Yeah. You know, for me, like the oldest part of the building, the one, you know, where the 1830s, the whole building's 1830s, that is the part that is the most active that I have, you know, found for myself. But also most teams report the same thing. They to me that the oldest part of the building is, you know, the most active. So basically any of the floors, you know, every single team has had a different experience. Yeah. But for some reason, when women go into certain areas by themselves, like when Chelsea was by herself, I had the same thing happen to me multiple times in that same exact place. And she did not know that because I did not tell them. So I thought that was really weird. When I saw it when I was watching it, you know, on TV, I was like, oh, you know, and I got cold chills. Like my daughter was like, "Mom, that happens to you. That happens to you." Like, "Oh, that's creepy, Mom. That's creepy." Paranormal stuff.
Now, is there a place that like people kind of ignore that you want, like they should kind of check out a little bit more? Because I know that Madison people used to kind of like not go towards the Civil War side as much because it was kind of quiet, but now it's like off the hook. But
yeah.
Any place like that's in the sanitarium that people just kind of like gloss over and they should probably spend some more time there?
Yeah, so in that area for the sanitarium, it is what we call the blue room, which is actually a newer room. It was built in like around the 1960s. But before that, there was a ballroom there. It was a big, huge ballroom connected to the big main building. So they tore down the ballroom to make this, you know, new section for like the nursing facility. And so that room, when you enter, that's where most people enter when we bring them in. They enter in the blue room. And so the blue room is like a very large, high ceilinged room. And we just called it the blue room because it was blue. So, you know, everybody just kind of kept that, you know, I don't know why, it's just easy to say, I guess. But that room, you can catch like EVPs of ballroom music. You can hear like, I've done live streams there where I've just set a camera, like a static cam, and just let people watch it. And you will hear like, it sounds like a party is going on.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
We're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no neighbor. I mean, so there's no party. I mean, there's nobody partying.
Right.
And so it's really, really weird. Like, we have a couple of live streams where we have that, you know, and people were like, "Oh my God, it sounds like there's like people there." So like, I kind of started focusing more on that now, you know, because like, well, that's really weird. And I want to know what's going on there. You know, is it a ballroom period or, you know, what is it? I don't know. So yeah, that's one room that people don't, because it doesn't look scary. You know what I mean? It's one of it's big and it doesn't look scary. So I think people kind of, you know, just write it off. But you would
check out the blue room, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, when we investigate, we usually just kind of wander around and just feel rooms out. Like we like to know the hotspots or whatever, but we kind of just work our way around the building, and if we find something that feels off or, you know, we hear a bang or something, we'll check it out and we'll work it pretty hard. You know, we don't really go by. We enjoy the tours and we will work the hot spots, but we tend to like to venture into the places that don't get talked about during the tour. And it, amazingly enough, it seems to be a lot of times it'll be more active in those places.
Right, because they don't get to talk to anybody. They're excited people are there.
everybody else.
I remember at Prospect Place, they had a paper by the rooms, and they would tell you like how much activity, and it was totally off because like the rooms that didn't have any activity. Sometimes it was like off the there was a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, that's where we called one EVP, was just out in the hallway.
Yeah,
that we have, so that was like, and there was like it was in an area where there was like low probability, I think they said, or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's no formula to it.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I agree, and we have a lot of people. Like I said, they just assume if it looks like more modern or not scary, they're like, oh, this doesn't have anything, and I'm like, yo, you do, guys.
Yeah.
Right. Usually at Madison, if it has a creepy doll in it, then people think it's like super haunted, and they should investigate there.
That is exactly how it is. Where we had a haunted doll that was sent to me. Because they didn't want it, it creeped them out. So like, you like creepy things. So I took the rings, because they were doing like a haunted house, and so I left it there. I tell you what, more people focus on that doll than anybody.
Right.
I'm like, what? Why do you got? What is this? You're here for this. Take them all with you. I mean, I'm like, I don't.
I go to all the spots that the dolls are not.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So fun. Because people will be like, ew, I don't like that doll, and it's, I mean, I don't blame them. The doll's ugly, but
right.
I'm like, okay, well, what about the dead bodies,
Right. Oh, that's funny.
The girl
Becky had
hard to shovel, you know what I mean? They would keep, they're like, oh, and I'm like right here.
Right. Yeah. But that doll, though.
Yeah, they're like, okay.
Oh, goddamn, Annabelle ruined it for everybody.
They'll be like, oh my God, stay away from that doll.
It's got the demon in her. Peggy Goodell had a question for you. What other things did Destination Fear find that you didn't tell them about beforehand?
So I'm just going to tell you this. I did not tell them a whole lot about some of the experiences because I didn't want them to, have a preconceived idea about it.
Right.
That's why I really liked them, because I can tell that they didn't know, first of all, that, some of the experiences, and they caught them. So that makes it more genuine than somebody who's just going to, oh yeah, over here's the hot spot. We get EVPs over here. Over here's this, I basically just gave them an idea of the types of things that I'd had happen and that other people have reported, but didn't tell them the exact places, or that way they wouldn't really know if it was a newer part or the older part, or, Now I did give them a couple things, that were really super creepy that a couple of us have had like multiple times. And so they did know about those. But what I liked is they did not focus on that on the show. They focused on things that, we didn't tell them. So I was really proud of them. I was like, I'm very proud of you guys. You guys got my hot spots, And I was like, I don't know how proud I am of my I said, sorry, Chelsea, I probably should have told you that, that area really like to pick on women. So we had a good laugh because I told her, I said, I'm not joking, it's a creepy spot, so yeah, it was definitely, I was very impressed with Destination Fear.
Yeah, we love that show. I mean, it's probably the only show really that I follow right now. I mean, as far as, but it's one that I can also enjoy watching with my kids.
Right.
Like it's not so intense that it's like, it's not over flamboyant. Not everything is a demon.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my daughters love it, and that they fell in love with Madison after watching that episode. So I eventually took them to Madison just for like a daytime walkthrough. They really liked it, and like my youngest was actually, after that trip, I think she's sensitive because she, like, knowing where we've experienced things, and other people have experienced things. Like we were walking through those areas, and she would like turn, Dad, why is my hair standing up? I feel chilly in here. I'm like, Yes. You got a little mini investigator coming. They're both really interested in it, and it's just a show that we can all watch together.
Yeah.
But that actually leads me into Lacey's question.
Look at that. It's like you did it on purpose.
I know, right? Like I'm a professional or something.
Professional as shit.
Yeah, right. Lacey, want to know, does your daughter ever investigate with you? Shut up, Mike.
So prior to, I really didn't let her do a lot of it because I wanted to make sure that she was mature enough, spiritually and, prepared, because it can be very terrifying, and so I never her when she was younger. She got old enough to be able to say whether or not she wanted to go with me, and she really didn't have a big interest in it. But she gets curious every once in a while. But since we spent a lot of time at Sweet Springs, we stay there on site in one of the cottages, and I usually stay in the big building sometimes. But she's in college now. But at the time in high school, she was a senior in high school, and she said, "Mom," it was like middle of the day. She's like, "Mom, why is this so? I don't understand why you like this so much. Like, why is it so exciting?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it's just a rush when you get, it's just like, oh my God, I got some. What is that? I can't explain it." So I said, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just, it's cool to get a reaction when there was nothing there to say what you just heard,
Right.
So she was like, "Well, I want to go during the day sometime, So I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "All right." I said, "Well, when do you want to do it?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know, whenever." I said, "Well, you let me know." There's one day she was like, "Can we go in there and just see like if we can hear anything or see anything?" I'm like, yes. So we go in and we're sitting there, and I just had the voice recorder and I turned it on, and I said, I told her how, what we were doing and why I was doing it. And I asked her if she wanted to ask a question, and she was like, yeah. So she said, "Is there anybody here that wants to talk to us?" And, and then we said, we waited a little bit and said, "If so, what's your name?" And then we played it back, and we hear this Southern Belle female voice, and she says, "Yes." And it's like, yes. And her name, she said her name, and she was like, "Emily," and I'm like, "Oh my God." And my daughter's face, like her eyes were this big, and she's like, "You didn't say that." I said, "No, I didn't." I didn't say that. And I said, "No." And she's like, "Who said that?" And I said, "Apparently Emily."
Right.
I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then she got like the cold chills and everything. She was like, "That's really kind of creepy, but cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, are you scared? Do you want to leave?" And she was like, "No, I'm not scared." And so I said, "Okay." So I said, "You want to ask some more questions?" She goes, "Yeah." And so she says, "When were you here?" And we hear this like Southern Belle voice, and it's clear as day. And she says, What do you mean?" Like that. Just being like, "Are you crazy? Like, of course. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I'm here now."
Right.
Yeah. And she was like, "What was that?" And I said, "Well, apparently you're supposed to know what she's talking about." So then she says, "Well, what else should we ask?" I said, "I don't know. Ask her, how she got here." And so she's like, "Okay." And so I turned the recorder on, and she's like, "How did you get here?" And you hear this very faint little Southern, and she goes, "By stagecoach, of course."
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So it was like,
that's amazing.
And it was weird because when we walked out of the building, the owner has a German Shepherd, and he loves us, and he is the dog ever, and he would not come near us. He would not come near us. He just kept staring at us, and he just kept backing up and like looking at us and like backing up and looking at, and she was like, "Ooh, Mom, that's creepy." She was like, so I was like, "Okay, please go back to the building."
Right.
Yeah.
"We really don't want you to follow us right now because, the dog doesn't like it." And, so she was like, "Why did it do that?" And then I said, sometimes dogs can sense things, and maybe, the dog something. And she was like, "Ooh, I don't want to do that again." It was really neat because, you always hear like, just like, the EVPs like Get Out or whatever, but it was so weird to hear that Southern drawl.
Right.
And it was real like pleasant sounding, so she was like, "Of course," and you're just like, "Okay, Scarlett O'Hara,"
That's so cute.
cool. Because, you know, some people are like, oh, that's not scary, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but it's cool. It's really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like that. But I usually, she does not have a lot of interest in, you know, doing stuff. She's not afraid of it, but she's not really into it, you know.
My daughters beg me to take them, but I'm like, you got to be at least 18. First of all, that's mom's rule, not really mine. But you know, you got to be a little bit older. I mean, they're only 12 going on 13, and my youngest just turned 10, so they got a while to kind of get to that point where I'm comfortable with them. I might take them on a flashlight tour. Actually, I have to. I promised them so. I take them on a flashlight tour of Madison Seminary, but I kind of feel the same way. I think they need to be a little bit more spiritually mature, kind of have a better belief of what, if they believe or not, so they can protect themselves properly. You know, so it's kind of touch and go yet. I mean, we talk about it openly. If they have questions, I will answer as honestly as I can without freaking them out. You know, I don't want to scare them with my stories, but I will talk to them about it. So
that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is.
My 8-year-old has been seeing stuff at our house. And, you know, I used to see things all the time when I was little, and my mom kind of always said, oh, that's your eyes playing tricks on you, or, oh, that was this or that or whatever, and always made excuses for it. And now that my kid is doing that, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I don't want him to be scared, you know, so I try to debunk things as much as I can. And I don't want to be like, well, what did he look like? What did he say to you? What time period clothes was he wearing? You know what I mean? And I don't want to scare him too much.
Like, you take the recorder with you when you go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I did give him some of my crystals to sleep with. And, you know, hope that would make him feel better, even if it was just a psychosomatic making him feel better, you know.
Here's some magic rocks, honey.
Right? Yeah. Don't worry, Mommy. Just charge them in the moonlight, so it's good. It's hard to explain that to a kid.
Then there's Heisenberg, who's already reading his toddler the Book of Demons, or the
the Dictionary of Demons.
Yeah, the dictionary. He's gonna be prepared, man.
Nice.
He'll be our young up and coming demonologist really quick. He'll say some demon's actual name before Dada.
That might have happened. I don't know.
Beelzebub. I mean, oh my gosh. So has anybody ever reported anything like physical, like touch, any contact there at Sweet Springs?
Yes, I actually, even myself, I have been pushed down the stairs. So I tell everyone, that was one thing that creeped me out, you know, really badly. Because I know I didn't trip. I know I could feel it. You know, you can feel when someone like pushes your back, like between your shoulder blades. You can feel that, and I felt it.
Oh wow.
So after that, you know, I was like, I just tell people, I'm like, hold on to the rails, please, because I don't know, you know, I don't know what caused that. I still haven't been able to figure out what it was or who it was or anything, but I just know that I definitely was like pushed. And if I hadn't had good balance and caught myself, I probably would have been really like badly injured. I mean, it was really scary.
Yeah, that is very scary.
But
I will do that, Holly. Thank you.
Other people have reported, like, you know, getting like a push on their shoulder, you know, or like somebody pulling their hair, you know, things like not anything like violent,
right?
That saying they're hurt, but you know, they'll say touched and things like that.
Okay, I was just curious. Somebody had asked a question. Oh yeah, they want to know if it's just the building that's haunted, or are the grounds themselves like around the building? Like when you're walking around, do you see and hear weird things?
Yes, you do. In fact, a lot of people, you know, we get so focused on the building that, you know, sometimes we don't say anything about the other, you know, like the grounds and the other buildings. But the old jail is actually one of the oldest jails west of the Alleghenies.
Oh wow.
So it was literally active, and we know for sure that there were several deaths there. From, you know, different reasons. Back in the day when they could actually shoot someone because they were stealing something. You know, like that.
Oh, those were the good old days. No, I'm just kidding.
But yes, so the jail is very active. And sometimes we can't let teams in there if we've had like a lot of flooding and stuff, because it is really cold and it's got like the dungeony kind of feel to it in the back. So, we do tell people, we'll let you in if it's safe, but if there's a lot of water and stuff, I really don't think it's, a good idea. We don't want somebody to fall over and, fall in the water and hit their head or something. But the grounds, itself, we've had multiple people who are locals who have, told us that they've seen apparitions of like women walking across the lawn in the big dresses. And they didn't know that it was an apparition. They thought somebody was actually, walking along. And so when they would get up close, they said they didn't see anybody. And we have enough of those to where the people don't necessarily know that the other people told us, because we haven't put it out there, too much. So I know that they're telling the truth, because there's no way they would just make that up. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But, at the last, I work with like, sometimes different teams. I'll work with different teams and they'll ask me to help them or, come along or whatever. And I worked with a team that I've been working with since 2007, and they were there with me in May. And Vanessa actually she said, I swear, she was like, I thought you and Jonathan were walking across the front, the portico, the big long, and, like, she really thought that it was us, like, walking across. We weren't even there. Like, we weren't anywhere near. So she was like, are you sure? Like, are you positive? We're like, no. And, we're like, well, here's the video proof, because we were over here, And she's like, I swear you guys were walking across the front porch. She's like, I swear it was you guys. And we were like, no, it wasn't. And we have a lot of reports of that. Like, sometimes people will be in the building, teams will be in the building, and they'll look out the windows, where the porticos are, and they'll look out the windows and they swear that someone walked by, and we're all, if you come out there, you are either crazy, especially if you're not supposed to be there, because we do shut the gate and stuff. So, people come in on other people, and we make doors are locked. But, you're either crazy if you're coming out there hanging out on the porch, because you're, you just don't do that in rural West Virginia, Don't sneak up on people on property, Either that or you're a ghost,
Right.
So it's like, if you're not part of the team and you guys are all inside and you see somebody, that is not normal, Yeah. We have a lot of reports of that. And one, we really thought we were like, oh, we got good evidence, because we could see like something manifest. Then we start laughing because we realized there was a car going by and there was like, it was a real foggy, misty kind of night. And you could see it, and we're like, dang it. We thought something good. Dang it, We were joking. We were like, we should put this out there and see if somebody could tell us what it is, Like, not saying that it's real, but saying, tell us what. And maybe we should do that, just because it was so, like, if you didn't know any better and you didn't really sit there and think about it, you would swear that it's something manifesting, right? But it wasn't. So we were all disappointed, because you know how that is. You're like, oh, dang it, that was so
You think you got the best piece of evidence ever, and
that happened to Shelly and Chelsea and I at Fairfield. We were walking, and we had been playing, well, Shelly was playing on a piano earlier, and we walked past the hallway and we heard like 2 or 3 very distinct piano keys. It sounded just like piano keys. So we were like, oh my gosh. So we go investigate in the room again. We're playing the piano again. And, we're joking like, oh, are you trying to show Shelly how to actually play the piano? And, so we spend an hour in this room, and then we go somewhere else. We're walking around. We get to the same spot, and we hear 2 or 3 piano keys again. And we're like, what the hell? What are the chances? And then we're like, what are the chances? So then Shelly starts, like jumping around on the floor, and there's one spot on the floor where when you step on it, it sounds like 2 piano keys. And we're like, son of a bitch. Like, we really thought that we had like the best, like that was so cool. We heard a freaking piano. No.
Usually when it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, it was. We were excited though.
It's so when you have that happen, you're like,
I know. It was awful.
I know when we first started investigating at Madison, that happened to us. It was the floor. It was the one with a little kitchenette in it on one of the second floor.
Yeah.
We kept hearing this like bang, bang. So we stopped. Like, can you do that again? Like, because it's somebody in there doing that, right?
Yeah.
And you hear bang, bang. I'm like, okay. So we go in there, and I'm like sneaking up, like think I'm gonna catch this ghost in the corner, right?
I love how you think you're
gonna sneak up on a ghost.
Yeah. Catch it.
Yeah, right? Gotcha. It's like, oh. Well, we got in there, and there's an exhaust fan attached to the oven, like the range fan, and it was the fan on the outside. It was the breeze hit it a certain way, it would turn, and as it turned, it would clink real loud. I'm like, God damn it!
Right?
Acting the fool, thinking I'm sneaking up on something, like I'm Scooby Dooing up on it. What's that?
Watching you do that. Like walking real silently.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna sneak up on something that can walk through walls. I mean,
the rest of the ghost are probably like, look at this asshole.
That was a long time ago. That was back in the early days.
When you can laugh about it, find out.
Yeah,
right.
I laughed about it 5 minutes after I did it, realizing how stupid it was. But that's the thing. You get so excited when you think you're hearing or seeing something.
Right.
You don't think about your reaction to it or how you're trying to sneak up on it.
Right.
There's other people that would have started screaming and running away, like, "Oh my God!" Was it run, dude, run? Was the term.
I start laughing because I see some paranormal investigators that I love them to death, but they're so funny because here they are wanting this big piece of evidence, and they hear something, they go running in the other direction, and I'm like,
right?
What
are you doing?
That's why I always tell people I am not a paranormal investigator. I'm there for the history because I don't want anybody to expect that out of me. Like if I hear something, I am gonna run. But also at the same time, we'll be investigating, and I'll be like, if you're here, why don't you close? Or if you want that door closed, why don't you just close it? And then I'll be like, why did I say that out loud? I don't want them to close the door.
You don't have to do it, but it'd be kind of cool. Just wait till I leave.
Yeah,
you have the stage. Bye.
Yeah.
Probably be worse, Denise, if you went out there and they closed the door and everybody else was inside.
Right?
You better stop asking that question.
I know. Sometimes I don't know why I say things out loud, and then I'm like, that was dumb.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. I was just kidding.
It listened to us one time in the asylum of Madison Seminary. It closed the door when we told it to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
I probably, it's funny because you want it to happen, but you're like, oh, what am I going to do if it actually happens?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody sits there like, what? Well, did that?
Yeah. The only exception is like the mag lights. Can you turn the light on? Like I'm excited when that happens. But if I say can you close that door? Or can you do something bigger? Then I'm not okay with it.
Well, just to give you an idea of Sweet Springs, this is comical, but at the same time it's not funny. So I've been there multiple times, so I'm kind of used to I kind of expect things sometimes. I'm like, I just know we're gonna, something's gonna happen, but I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to give people preconceived ideas. And then what if it doesn't, because I never know if it's gonna happen or not. So I don't really say much, but when I'm with somebody who's been there never, and they're sitting there with me, most of them usually have their own camera, or they have I have mine set up too. And we'll be filming, and if you film with a couple people, a lot of people, when you're reviewing evidence, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's the most boring thing ever. And other times you're watching and you're like, whoa, what was that? And then you go back and like, oh, never mind, that was a bug, whatever. But Vanessa and I were like in one of the areas that we really didn't expect to get anything, and we're sitting out in the hallway, and our backs are against the wall because we're looking at each other, but we kept hearing like the stall doors, like every once in a while you hear like a bang of a stall door, and I want to move, but I'm afraid if I move, it will stop doing that, so I'm like, I want the camera to catch it, so that I can go back and see if I can figure out what it is. And we waited a little bit, and she was like, I can't take it anymore, I'm scared. Like she's like, she goes, but I'm not scared of a ghost, I'm scared that it's an actual person, like it's so we had our walkies, and I called, we had 2 other people with us, and I called them and I said, where are you guys at, just to make sure that they weren't coming up or doing anything. And they were like, well, we're down in the blue room, which was complete opposite side of where we were. There's not even anywhere near. And so, you sure? And they're like, yeah, we're sure. Like, you want us to send you a picture or what? Like, okay. So we believed them, and we're like, we're thinking they've got to be playing a joke on us or something, because she said, if that was you, then slam one of the doors, like slam one of the big doors, like really hard. And we're sitting there, and you don't hear anything. We're like, oh, okay, we'll see what else can we ask. And then like right after that, she's like, God, it's really quiet. And then you hear bang.
Yeah, no.
Like she was like, you could see us on camera. So they were footage. They were like, they start backing up, because and I were like, okay, we have a pact. We do not leave each other here. We are going to kick someone's ass. I thought it was a real, we were thinking there's a human here that's like trying to scare us.
Right.
So we go walking down the hallway, and we're looking, and we don't see anything. And we called them again, and we're like, are you sure you're not up here? And they're like, yeah, we're really sure we're not up there. So we're like, okay. So we go back, and we, played our cameras backwards just so we could go back and review and see, they were like, oh my God, that sounds like a real human was walking, and then slammed the door. And I was like, okay, we need to go through here, and we need to make sure there's not somebody did not come in here or something,
Right.
And we could not find anyone at all. So then I went to the security cameras, and I'm like, well, we'll know if someone came in because it'll show. And usually it would alert us. Well, it didn't alert us. So we could not find anything on the cameras. It was not a human. It definitely had to have been something paranormal. And but they were dying of laughter when they heard us say we have a pact, because they were like,
right,
we're talking about
that mean to me.
Right.
We're like, no, we weren't going to kill anybody. We're just like not going to leave each other here with like, each other with ghosts. Okay,
Right.
Not a human, And so we were like, we just don't make any sense. We're never going to do that again. But it was just comical, because the things that you think about, you're like, that is not a ghost. That's a human. And you're more human than a ghost. That's pretty sad.
Yeah. Well, humans are scary though.
Exactly. I'm like, if they're going to be creepy,
Yeah.
Do you guys have a lot of issues with that? People trying to break into Sweet Springs, or is it pretty?
I don't want to jinx us, but most people, they know we have security cameras up on all of the. So most people don't bother.
Gotcha.
But we did have one, because there's always somebody that has to be. And of course, their faces are like right there on our security cameras.
Right.
And they came in and stole 2 things, and I don't think they intended any harm to anyone or anything, but they really obviously should not break into a door and come and steal stuff. So we just put it out there. We're like, look, we don't, we're not trying to make anybody's lives ruined or anything, but you need to return the 2 things that you stole, and you need to do it now, because otherwise you're going to put your faces out there, and then you're probably not going to like that. So they were young, they were kind of young, which is why we were like, okay, we'll give them a break. We'll let them know. So they did return the stuff within 24 hours. so
awesome.
But that also showed everyone else like, oh crap, we probably shouldn't break in there because there's security.
Right.
So I do think that does deter a lot of people. But before the owner now purchased it in 2015, before that, there was a lot of break-ins, where teenagers were just going in there and doing stuff. And I mean, vandalizing,
Right.
So far, since we've gotten the new owner and the security cameras and everything's, secure. So we tell everyone, we're like real careful with, paranormal teams, because we're like, just make sure if you don't feel safe, you call us and, we'll come in. But we can see on the security cameras, if you need us, just, let us know.
Right.
But we want to make sure everybody's safe, because it is scary. It can be scary when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have cell service where there is no cell service. So if you have Wi-Fi, you can, call and things like that, because we have Wi-Fi. But in certain areas, it's spotty. So, we tell everyone, we're like, okay, you don't freak out if you're in this area. Just come to this other area where there's Wi-Fi.
Right.
So, yeah, sometimes, some teams get really freaked out because they think there's like an actual person.
Yeah.
And we'll have our property manager come in and look around and make sure, he checks everything. That's why it's just so creepy that, a ghost can be that loud, with
right.
Oh yeah.
Walking.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. So what kind of, besides Sweet Springs, are there any other places that you love to investigate at? Like, just like another favorite place of yours?
So Madison Seminary was one of my favorites. Yeah. and that's for real. I absolutely love that place. So it was awesome. And, just the history. I love that, it's, you guys are working on the same goals that, we are trying to preserve it and everything. But I loved it there. And I also, of course, loved Tala. Tala is like that was like my first like real paranormal investigation that I ever went on. It was before they even had like the bathrooms working. So they actually had porta johns outside that you had to use, and there was no electric in some of the I go there as many times as I can because it's just so it's huge and creepy and fascinating and all that. Not that far from me, it's only 40 minutes. So that's another one of my favorites. But I definitely, it's kind of hard because every place has their own, has their own little something that I like, about.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, but you guys are up on the list, and Tala.
Nice.
I was supposed to go there in May.
Yeah.
Stupid COVID.
I know, COVID.
Right?
Fuck you, COVID.
Right.
I'm not afraid to say it. What'd you say, Mike?
Don't piss it off.
Next thing you know, one of us is going to be getting an EVP that says, fuck you too.
Peggy had a good question for you. Is there a place that you want to go but haven't?
So I want to go to Fairfield.
Nice. Yeah. Good choice.
Yeah. So I want to go there. Yep.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep. So on my bucket.
Me too. We will get there. We're going to. We owe Adam.
No,
not yet.
Oh, jeez.
No. Honestly,
you guys need to go.
Again, it's another one of those places I'd never heard of before Adam bought it and took it over. I know they had that event there like right before he bought it. Like that's kind of what spawned the whole thing. But it's not a place that I was ever on our radar. There's so many places.
Well, Destination Fear was there too.
Well, right? He did his event there, and then Destination Fear was, and then he bought it, and I'm like, okay. If Adam purchased it, it's probably a place we need to get to.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get down there. We actually need to go down there and volunteer and put some sweat and tears into helping do whatever we can for a day or two.
Yeah.
We owe Adam for that. So, but yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's definitely on my list for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. So what is the scariest moment you've had yourself at Sweet Springs or anywhere really? Has there ever been that like moment where like maybe you wanted to just like walk away for just back off from the paranormal for a bit, or like life changing, game changer type thing?
Hopefully it's not being on this show.
Yeah. That usually does it for most people.
That's not ruined me, no.
We still got about 20 minutes, so
give us time. We'll get you.
I'll in there as long as I can. So for Sweet Springs, when I got pushed down, like the stairs, that really scared me because I could have actually gotten hurt. Like, I mean, that worried me for, several different reasons. Cause like, okay, is this like is this going to happen a lot? Is this something that I need to worry about? Is this something that I need to really try to figure out what the heck is going on here? I don't know, but that really scared me. It really did. And I had my camera on. So like, I just had it on and I really wasn't like filming anything. I was just kind of like walking with it. And that really, like, being that I caught it, I was like, oh God, I really actually did get pushed. I mean, you could see like that jerk, that jerk motion that you make. And then, when you trip or something, it's different. It's like a different, like a different kind of, and when you trip, like, you're like, oh, I'm clumsy and I tripped over, but there was absolutely nothing to trip over, So I don't know how else to explain it other than I could feel that, the push on my back, and that really terrified. I mean, that's scary. Like, that's, I actually was like looking around thinking that somebody actually, came running down the stairs and pushed me or something. I mean, I was thinking like, oh my God, there's a real person in here, and I'm like, because you're kind of like, what just happened,
Well, the physical is scary too, because, you pump yourself up, like, it's okay. Like, what are they going to do? They can't hurt me.
Yes.
And then like for something physical to happen, you're like, holy shit, they can hurt me badly.
It was like one of those moments where I was like, I need to really be careful what I ask for. I definitely don't want to be pushed down the stairs. And I did have like it was funny. I guess I was talking to myself. If there wasn't any spirits, I was talking to myself, but I was like, please do not ever do that. And don't ever do that to anybody,
Right.
That's not cool, and so far, like, I tell everyone just to give them a warning. I'm like, just hold on to the railings when you're going down the stairs, because and I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but please just hold on to the railings when you're going down the stairs. And, of course, a lot of people are like, oh my God, we need to see if they'll push us. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Do that. I don't want you to die in the stairwell.
Like, here's 5 waivers to sign, just in case.
Yeah, you get an extra one.
I'm like, sign this one that says if you're in the stairs. Oh, oops, that's your problem. That was
a waiver at the bottom and the top of the stairs. You have to sign before you go down.
The stairwell, you have to sign this special waiver.
Hi, Cindy Harper. I'm not responsible for you falling down the stairs because you did not use the railing.
Or because you're an asshole and you want to instigate.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for you, Cindy. I mean, you sign the waiver, you can kick them down the stairs.
Be like, wow, it happened again.
Oh, did you see that? You okay?
Everybody has that one like rude person that comes and
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I need you to sign this. Oh my gosh, what happened to you?
Right. Whoops.
Sorry about that. I told you. It's not funny, but that's one thing that really that definitely terrified me, because I like thinking, wow, now it's not just talking or touching. Or I actually got pushed. So I still don't know what that was about. I haven't been able to figure it out, and I haven't really got any answers. When I asked for EVP, and Spirit Box, I haven't got any answers yet. So I hope I figure out what it is. I don't know. But the other thing that would be one of my most terrifying moments was when I was in Tala back in 2008. I'll never forget it. March 21st, 2008. Like, I will never forget. That was when I was really
9 o'clock, 9:30 and 5 seconds.
Yes. And, I'm like, I know exactly who I was with. I know exactly who was in there. And so when I was there, and that was when that was the first time that I'd ever been to a place that was just really, really creepy. I'm beyond all creep factors. That was when they didn't even have like electricity hooked up to some of the areas. So we literally had to use a flashlight, and you're walking around, and nothing was like clean or anything. It was like hardcore, like completely just, it needed a lot of work. And I'm down there, and me being, the curious person that I am, I'm there with another person, just one other person, and everybody else, because I don't know, you know how they do like the public events, and then you can also do private events. Well, at that time, only allowing public because they didn't have enough interest from people. You know, people didn't want to pay $150 a person to go in there. You know what I mean? They just it just wasn't this wasn't something that people were doing quite yet.
Right. Yeah.
So of course I was, you know, so I'm like, I can't wait. So I went in and I was with one of my friends, and she's not really into the paranormal. She's, you know, she was just curious. Like she was basically just like, I want to be scared. This is like a haunted house. I want to be scared, you know? So thinking like, no, it's not like a haunted house, but okay, you'll do it. So we go there, we have our flashlights and we have our, you know, because that was 2008. So, you know, not a lot of gadgets. We had our flashlights and we had our recorders and we had our little, you know, camera and whatever. So we're sitting down there and, you know, we're asking questions and, you know, all this. And I mean, it was one of those where you had to rewind, you know, your recorder. It wasn't where you could just get back to one spot. So it was a pain in the rear end. So we have to rewind and we're like, oh my God, it's going to take forever. So we would ask one question or two at a time and then get back, you know, and we were, you know, we were creeped out because we were getting like the cold chills and stuff, but it was also because we knew that everyone else had left except for the tour guide and us. And the tour guide was like, oh, you guys you're fine. You know, you guys just yell for me if you need me. And she was like upstairs in the area, you know, where they have like heating and, you know, for people to take a break and stuff. And so we're like down here and I don't even know what the heck we were thinking at the time, to be honest with you, because I mean, I don't know, but we, you know, we're asking questions and we didn't get an answer, but we got this blood curdling scream. Like I'm talking like not human, but sounded, you know, like torture. It's like, oh God, I still get cold chills. And to this day, that was probably one of the creepiest things. I know it sounds dumb, but
no, that doesn't sound dumb.
In that building, and know that like that was the area where like they were doing lobotomies and things, and they would do like, you know, the treatments that they did on people.
Right. It was torture.
Yeah. So it was horrible. And you know, I could imagine like this kind of scream would only come from somebody who was like literally like dying. You know, like I mean,
right.
That and that for that I was like, that's it, I gotta go upstairs. I gotta go upstairs. And we go upstairs and we let the tour guide hear it, and she goes, ooh, oh my God, holy crap. You know, she's like, you know, so when she was freaked out, she's like, I think we should call it a night. And I said, I'm fine with that, you know.
Yeah.
Thinking like, what was that? I mean, you know, it was, a human can only hold that for so long, you know.
Right.
And it was so long. Like when I went back, I still have the recording, and when we went back, the scream was it lasted 53 seconds, which that's a long,
my gosh,
you know, that's a long time, at least for me, for EVPs and stuff. EVPs are usually pretty, you know, you can get pretty short ones usually,
right?
But and it was like just a terrifying, just, I mean, I don't even know how to explain. I mean, we both, as soon as we heard it, we were like, okay, that's it. we are
that's crazy.
We gotta have a break, you know, because it was just like, I don't know if you guys pick up on stuff too, like energy, you pick up like emotions and stuff. I just felt so much sadness, and you know, I felt terrible. I just felt terrible. I was like, whoever that was, that was awful. They were experiencing real pain, and that just like totally, you know, I was like, no, I got to be done for the night. You know, this.
That's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You got to take a break. Step back.
For sure. Yeah. For a year or two.
Yeah. I think I believe, you know, but it was really like, you know, it was just very terrifying. Plus you know, because you know, if someone's screaming like that, they're dying, or they're like,
or they think they're dying. They feel like they are. Yeah.
And that's an awful thing. Like, especially when you can, it's so intense. It's like, oh, so that was probably one of my most terrifying, like EVP type, you know, real time, like, this is horrible, you know?
Yeah.
I actually felt bad, you know, because you feel, you're like, okay, well, I can't help them, you know, and I didn't know I was going to get that. And now what do I do? You know, like now, you know, when you hear something like that, it makes you, you know, want to help someone.
Right.
So it was definitely one of those moments where I'm like, what am I in this for? Like, am I actually get evident, or am I actually like, do I want to try to help some way, or is that even possible? You know, so I don't know. That was definitely like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I really need to, think about why I'm doing this, and what I'm doing it for.
And it's hard too, especially when you can feel the emotions and stuff, like to imagine that, okay, say that person died 100 years ago.
Right.
So for 100 years, they've just constantly been in agony and being tortured. You know what I mean? Like, that's overwhelming to me. Like, that's tough to think about.
Yeah. I definitely, I still, like, to this day, I'm like, I don't know who that was, obviously, but who was, they were not having a nice life. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought, how terrifying. Like, that's just terrifying. And then I thought, like, because, you put yourself, at least I do, I try to put myself in the time, in the place, and I'm like, I can't imagine being there and or a visitor or a nurse or and hearing that like 24/7. Like, it would make me want to break down a door and shoot someone.
Right.
I just how can you make someone have that much pain? You know what I mean? Like, I just
and to think that you're making these medical breakthroughs, like, no, you're very obviously torturing these people. Right. You're not doing anything fantastic.
Right. And so just, that to me is like very disturbing, that was a common thing, at that time. Like, that happened, and we know that it happened,
Right.
So that's, I think when you put it, into like your real perspective, and you think about, okay, if that was a human being, that is an awful, I mean, clearly any human that's screaming that long and for that loud is in pain, and they're not in a situation. So it really made me think, and I was like, I have to go tonight,
Yeah.
I went multiple times after that, but not for that reason, more like I just couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I can't believe that we got this terrifying scream. And then I was like, how do we help? Can we help? I don't know,
Was your friend a believer after that?
Oh my, she won't ever, she would not step foot back in there. She's like, never again, I'm never. She's like, she's like, don't you ever take me. And I was like, you want to go on a haunted hayride? She's like, no. I'm like, come on, it's not, it's not real. Like, no, I don't trust you on that. She's like, you told me Tala wouldn't be scary either. And I was like, sorry about that. Like, oops.
Yeah.
I was like, I really didn't think it would be, but yeah.
I did that with my sister too. I felt terrible because she doesn't want, I mean, she believes in the paranormal, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. She doesn't go out and search for it.
Right.
And my oldest wanted to come on a flashlight tour, but obviously I'm there. I can't like leave and come and pick him up and bring him home, So I was like, can you please just bring him? He really wants to go. And she's like, I don't like any of that shit. I don't want to go. I'm like, please, nothing ever happens on a flashlight tour. It's fine. No, it was not fine. I shouldn't have said that. We're in a room, just the three of us, and the closet door starts opening. And then when it gets to a certain point, it's like swinging back and forth. I actually have it on video. The door is like swinging back and forth. And she's like, what the fuck? So she goes to record it, and her phone dies immediately. And she was at like 63% or something. And, when she left, as soon as she got out the threshold, her phone came back, and it was again at like 60 something percent, and it was fine, but it was dead the entire time she was in the building. She's like, I thought nothing ever happens on a flashlight tour. I'm like,
you're like,
it doesn't normally.
Don't make promises.
Usually.
It never happens.
Right. It's quiet.
Yeah, right.
In my defense, I was new then. It was only like a month into me being there. So I didn't know that you can't challenge the building like that.
Yeah, no, you can't.
I'm not walking in there like, nothing ever happens here.
Right?
That's a good, that's really quiet in here. That's I mean, case in point, when we were doing the public hunt just a month ago or so, it was really quiet for most of the night, and I mean,
and you had to go and say that out loud.
Yeah.
And then what happened, Goose?
It's kind of quiet for Madison, and then all of a sudden, boom. I'm in a cloud of darkness. Nobody can see me. I can't.
You're in a little dome of darkness.
Just like
you see, you said you and your friend had a pact. I have a pact with Ray too. I get to slap the shit out of him if he ever gets in this. It never happens around me.
That's funny.
I mean, oddly enough, I told somebody about that experience, and they said that happens to them when they're going into a trance mode, like when they're connecting with the spirit on a little bit of a higher level, where you're kind of seeing what they're seeing and feeling what they're feeling. I don't know. I mean, I never thought I was at that level. I think it was just, maybe I was just a little bit more open to it that night. But
did they say that other people can see the darkness when that happens to them?
She just explained it like she was going into a cloud.
Okay.
Like where she could just barely see things through the cloud, but she wasn't like right in her, like there was something affecting the way she was thinking at the same time.
Okay.
Like I was definitely not feeling like I was the goose at that point.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, it was really weird. It would but literally it was like minutes after saying, "Oh yeah, we'll go to the Civil War side. It's been kind of quiet tonight."
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm like surrounded by darkness. It's like, what the hell? That was it. That was the end of the night for me. I had to go hug a tree for a bit and almost puked my guts out because I was so nauseous and coughing like crazy. But it was weird.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was just wondering, right?
Yeah, it's just Madison is definitely one of those places you don't challenge. Yeah. Never say it's a quiet night.
No,
we've never gone there and haven't had some kind of experience.
Yeah.
To talk about afterwards. I mean, it's so we got like just a little bit over 10 minutes left. If you're a paranormal group, Cindy, how do you get in contact? Who do you contact to like set up an investigation or a tour?
So all they need to do is email me at sweetspringssanitarium@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'll give them, the information and what's available and, any questions they have.
Do you do daytime stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to make a day trip out there.
Is that more your style, Denise, the daytime tour?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of good
Remember, it was during the day that Julie was driving all those roads.
Yeah, right.
I like the day stuff because you can see the whole building, not just what your flashlight is pointing at, I like it.
If they can, especially if they're coming from a good distance, I try to tell them, to come earlier because we do let people come earlier and earlier. So that way they can see the grounds and so I do usually tell them, I recommend that because sometimes you won't get to see a lot of the stuff because, the jail is not part of the actual big building and, the bath not part of the big building. And
that's beautiful. You posted pictures of that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want them to be able to walk around and like look at these places and it's all on the same grounds, that we're on. But it's nice for pictures, especially if people like to take pictures of, the architecture and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
How are you guys faring through the whole COVID thing? Are you still getting a lot of interest?
Oh my gosh, we're booked pretty much every weekend. But we kind of have we haven't been doing the public tours where we're allowing a lot of people. So we've kept it, strictly to private paranormal teams with 10 people or less. And of course, whatever our governor requires, he requires masks. We tell people they need to wear. And of course, we encourage everyone to wash their hands and use hand sanitizers and everything. For most part, I mean, we haven't really had a lot of trouble because Sweet Springs is so big that 10 people, you could be there and not see or hear each other, at all. But we just, we like to make sure we're following the rules and we don't want to, problems with that and get anybody sick. So, yeah, so far it hasn't really bothered us as much except for like the larger, tours in the daytime and things. Mm-hmm. We haven't like big tours, where we limit it to real small groups.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. So you said they could email you at sweetspringssanitarium@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Set up a date. But it sounds like it's pretty booked for at least a while.
Yeah, for the weekends especially. But now we do have weeknights and weekdays.
Okay. That's cool. That's A lot of places don't operate during the week, or at least the nighttime like ghost hunts and stuff. So that's good enough. Good deal. Anything you have personally you'd like to promote before we have to sign off in a few minutes?
Nope, just MadCon 3. I'm gonna be there.
Yes, right.
But,
got the MadCon 2 shirt on.
That's right.
We'll get the MadCon 3 here in a couple months.
Yeah.
Super excited to meet you.
I'm so excited for that.
Oh yeah. I want to meet everybody in person. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
It's a good lineup this year. You got a couple of very hardworking historical preservationists, you and Steve Brote.
And,
the guys from what's the name of their team again? Gateway Paranormal.
Yeah.
So they're I still got to watch their documentary.
I haven't seen.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with their team, but I've seen the documentary being shared all over the place. So I'm gonna have to give it a look when I have some free time, which isn't happening because it's softball season. So it's like every free moment it's running to softball practice.
Right.
But yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you so much for being on. We cannot wait to see you out at Madison.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I'm like so excited.
Yeah.
Are you going to be sticking around for the ghost hunt afterwards, or are you going to be there the night before?
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, cool. When I meant to ask you what I wanted to ask you real quick. I read that you're a Reiki master.
Yes.
Okay.
I was in Hawaii, so I learned from the Japanese tradition. So I'm really into like the energy healing and energy work, because I definitely think that paranormal is energy. So I like to do what I can, and that topic is broad and wide, and I think it's interesting, very interesting.
Right.
So I did that when I was there because it was so easy to learn different spiritual techniques and different religions. Hawaii is like a melting pot, so
Hawaii seems like it's much more open to that type of thing, like more spiritually open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there a place now? Do you teach it, or are you a practitioner? Is there a place like somebody wants to work with you, or
if they message me, they can even send me the email on Sweets for Sanitarium and let me know that they're interested in learning, or they need me to do some work for them, then I can definitely do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. All right. Very cool. Well, thank you again for being on. It was a great interview. Can't wait to meet you in September. And definitely, I think our team is going to be looking into getting down there and checking that place out.
Definitely. That'd be great. Yay.
Now that it's on the radar. It's definitely on the radar, definitely in the bucket list category.
Right.
Definitely been looking for a new place to visit. So just got to work up the gumption to drive through the mountains.
I have lots of tips, so I can help you.
Okay.
You won't be alone in this thing.
Awesome. That's good to know. Awesome. So we have help. So thank you again for being on. Crypto Heads, thanks for tuning in again. You guys have been wonderful. You asked a lot of great questions tonight. We love you all. Next week we have special guest Brian Baum and his group Bearded Paranormal coming on. They've been on before. Really fun people to talk to. Probably since we're social distancing, Mike and I might be in the studio unless I forget my stuff again and have to do it from home because I'm so disorganized. But they'll be on, and then the week after that, that's getting close to the Gettysburg Bash.
Yeah.
So we might not be doing a show then, unless we're doing a show from the Bash itself, like later that week. I'm not sure yet, but looking forward to the Gettysburg Bash, and then MadCon 3 in September. Yes. So he's like, yeah, super excited for that. So we will
excited for MadCon 3 or MadCon.
What's that?
I'm always excited for MadCon.
Right.
Oh yeah,
it's fun.
It's the premier event of every year for the last 3 years. You have to go. So
I think especially this year, I'm really looking forward to it, just because everybody's been apart and so negative, and And this year is going to be so amazing. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to all this stuff coming up and some normalcy hopefully coming back.
Yeah.
And big family reunion, seeing old friends for the first time, meeting new friends for the first time. So it'll be awesome. So
that'll be good.
Yeah. Definitely something we all need.
Yeah.
You bet. Absolutely. We'll have you on again soon too. If you want to come back on, you might not want to talk to us. I don't know. We're gonna log off. She's gonna unfriend me and block me. Those are jerks.
He's like, worst decision ever.
Unfollow them. All right, crypto heads. We'll spook you later. We love you guys. Have a good night, and we will see you next week with Bearded Paranormal.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Oh wow. Oh shit. Still broadcasting.